Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review, and today I'm going to be unboxing the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro. And the reason I'm unboxing this is because it doesn't always tell you what you're going to get. Obviously it's a camera, so you're going to get the body, but what does it come with? So let's open this up. So here's the front, here's the side, talks about what's on the camera. Then on this other side, talks about 6K, talks about the sensor. The back actually tells you a lot about the camera, which you can look at or you can figure out on your own. I chose to figure out on my own. And with this different voiceover, I'm going to remind you that at any time you can pause the video to look and see what's on the screen. So go ahead and do that if you need to. But either way, let's open this up and we are welcomed to this little quick start guide. This is like the instruction manual. Then we have this little sticker that says Blackmagic Design. Then we have a DaVinci Resolve 17 Studio key, which you can use to obviously download DaVinci Resolve and activate that. So that's pretty nice. That's like a $300 thing, I guess. Then we have the charger right here. It's a little 2-point barrel thing that has a quick release. Pretty nice. And then here are the travel adapters. So they can sell this in different countries, but then also you can choose which one you have. It's nice that they have these options. So we can just slap that on here, and there we go. I got the US one. Then we have this little camera strap, which honestly is kind of dumb, but I've used it a decent amount. And we take this off, and here is the Non-Descript Battery. There's no actual labeling or anything. It just looks like an aftermarket battery. Technically, it doesn't even tell you if it's a F550 or F570, but judging on the capacity, I would say it's a F570 at that 26 watt. Then we have the large camera, and this thing is pretty big. You got all the inputs on the side. On the back, you have the tilting screen. It's a 5-inch 1080p screen that goes up to 1500 nits, which is pretty nice. Then we got a bunch of buttons on here for ISO, shutter speed, all that good stuff. On-off switch. Then on the side, we have these covers that can be removed, so don't worry about that. You got the headset jack, microphone, HDMI, USB-C port, 2 mini XLR ports, and then of course the charging port. The mini XLR does come with phantom power, so that's nice if you use that. And this screen is scary because we can see that cable, and yeah, there's this little pad that goes behind it. I actually saw a video of someone using that with that pad behind it. Make sure to remove that. Don't leave that on here. So the tilting option is actually pretty nice. You can almost bring it to like a 90-degree angle, and then we could just slap that back in. Here's a little slot for the battery. This little piece kind of springs up, so you can just set the battery in, and the battery kind of clicks in. There you go. The battery clicks in, and then we can actually turn it on. Just flick that switch, the little light lights up, it goes green, and we can select English. And that's it. Now the camera's all set up, and to remove the lens, you gotta push this little button and turn it. And at the time of unboxing, I didn't really know what I was doing. It's kind of hard to see, but there are ND filters. So when you cycle through them, pretty cool and works pretty well. There's a 2, 4, and a 6 stop for those wondering. So I got this little 50mm f1.8 lens that we can set on this. Clicks in really nice, and I'm not entirely sure how to use it, but here we are trying to focus. It does take some time trying to grab that focus, but this is my first lens and this is my first time using this camera or any type of camera like this, so it's gonna be difficult for me to use it, but I am going to have to get used to it. We have the little record button on the front. I don't really get that. Then one on the top, the camera button, which again I don't understand because it's kind of a pain to take stills on this. But the last thing I kind of want to show is this little rig that I got. It's the small rig one, and it's pretty easy to set in. All you got to do is just lightly push the camera in, and then we can tighten up these screws on the bottom. Not too difficult. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to carefully remove the side rails and move those over. And honestly, I like doing the half cage on the left side. I know people like doing it on the right side, but for some reason, I like that better. But either way, we'll tighten this up and set everything in place. Then with the kit, it came with this little USB-C and HDMI holder, and it's not really working too well. just because I have these little pieces on here, so I'm gonna have to rip those off. And I didn't feel confident, so I didn't rip that off at that time. Then there's this little SSD mount, but I don't have the T5 or the T7, so it doesn't really work for me. There's also a mounting position on the bottom too. And then another thing I want to go through is I have this little SSD that I can actually plug in on the side. And if you look carefully, it looks like I only get 42 minutes of recording, but I think that was only at like a couple hundred gigabytes. But either way, right now I am using a slightly newer software, not the very newest software. So I get Blackmagic Raw, I get 3:1, 5:1, 8:1, and 12:1, as well as Q0, Q1, Q3, and Q5 in everything except for Ultra HD and HD. ProRes, we get HQ 422, LT, and Proxy. We get those at 4K DCI, regular 16:9 4K, and then 1080p HD. Then of course with those respectable frame rates, 6K going up to 50, and everything else going up to 60. With 2.7K going up to 120 frames per second. Then we have different dynamic ranges like video, extended, and film. I choose either film or extended just for what I'm shooting, if I'm shooting outside, or if I'm shooting something to be a little bit more serious. And yeah, there's a bunch of different options on here. We can choose everything. I chose to take a while to set the date. But yeah, there's a lot of settings in here and a lot of things that you can do. You can change audio, change your monitor, and you can add some presets, which are pretty nice when you get used to those. So then you can quickly change what you want to do. Different LUTs, all that good stuff. And like I said, we do have some ND filters, so you can see how they look with the false colors on, and you can see how they change when we do change those. You can go back into the settings and choose what you want, but I personally recommend figuring out what you do want and making those into function keys. Lastly, I did get this handle, so we're going to put these screws in here, and we're going to set this up and put it on the camera. So what I recommend if you buy this cage, there's a little NATO rail, which is where I moved this handle, because I don't like how it's right where the HDMI and all that stuff is. So what I decided to do later on is I moved it to the front, and I highly recommend doing that and buying one of these with a NATO release, so that you can just tighten it, and if you don't want it on the side, you can loosen it up and remove it. Trust me, they cost about the same price for this exact one at least, and it's definitely better. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that's in the box and everything that I ordered. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, I do plan on talking more about this camera. So if you do have any questions about this camera or anything before you buy it, let me know and we can figure out something, I guess. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.